Good morning. Welcome back to KXAN Live on this rainy day. You can see our foggy weather camera in the back is all gray. Today we have our first warning weather Q&A with meteorologist Rich Segal, and you may have heard him laughing in the background, but he's here with me now to help me do this. Rich, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sorry that I missed you all last week. I took a few days off and went out to Las Vegas to broadcast some softball games at a tournament.
Wow.
But I'm here today, and we've got some questions today, too. We got some folks to respond to our crowdsourcing, and we also had a couple of reporteds, and then we had a silly question that I'm putting in just because it's a Sunday.
Yeah, and you missed our snow week because you were out in Vegas.
I actually was back by Tuesday, but they gave me Tuesday off and had me work on Friday. So I was watching from home. My colleagues do a spectacular job, and may I say that our viewers also did a spectacular job too with all the videos and the still pictures that they sent us.
Yeah,
but you didn't. You were here.
Yeah, I was here all day that night that we had started with the snow. I remember Nick was like, "It's snowing," and we all ran outside, and it was just little tiny baby particles of snow, and then it grew after that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yes.
So let's jump into it. Our first question that you have for us is, can you explain rain chance percentage?
All right. This came from Randy. Randy, thank you for the question. First of all, you have to have confidence in the fact that there will be rain. You're basing this on model runs, on available moisture, and things like that. What it is a statistical probability that at least 1/100th, 0.01, 1/100th of an inch of rain will fall in a given area. So when I am on this morning saying that we have a 50% chance of rain this morning, and then it drops to less than 20% by late this afternoon, that means that this morning, at least 50% of the KXAN viewing area will measure at least 1/100th of an inch of rain, and there won't be as much this afternoon. But I have to caution you, when we are forecasting the 80% chance of rain that we have in our forecast on Wednesday night into Thursday, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a deluge of rain. It just means that 80% of our viewing area will measure at least 1/100th of an inch of rain. Fortunately, that 80% chance of rain comes with some heavy downpours on Wednesday night and Thursday, rain that we could use so badly.
So what you're telling me is that this week is going to be wetter than normal?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're happy to say that.
And we can already see it happening, right?
Yes. What we have right now on our Estonian weather camera, which is the one to your left, is we have some low clouds in place right now, and we also have some fog. The fog has been thick across the area all morning, but we see a much brighter, if you want to call it that, view from our TxDOT weather camera. The view is on I-35. Traffic coming towards us is moving in the southbound or moving to the south. It's I-35 and 56th Street.
This morning when I drove to work, I noticed that it had started raining at night, but I didn't think it would continue into the morning, and it was exactly the same as it looked like last night.
Mm-hmm. It sure was.
Now we have our next question. Question number 2. Why do we see more cases of the flu in the wintertime?
And this came from Irvin. Irvin, thank you very much. The air in the wintertime is usually colder and drier, and it's the perfect breeding ground for the influenza virus to become more stable in those conditions. And you combine that with the fact that, people have a tendency to spend more time indoors than they do outdoors during the winter. As a result, it increases the chance of a virus's transmission when people cough or people sneeze. And so your nasal passages are drier during this time of the year as well. And that means that they can't trap anything to help fight off the virus. So this is why we see the influenza outbreak that people suffer from in the winter season and not so much in the summer. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen in the summer, but it happens in a colder and much drier environment, which is what we have right now.
We're also always all indoors together during the winter because it's kind of cold, so that could be a factor as well.
Right.
When do you normally get the flu?
I don't. Wait a minute. Hold on.
It's flu season.
I get the flu virus, and because of my age, I get the higher octane, the more intense for people in my age group. But I get it every late September or October. And fortunately for me, gosh, I'm about to jinx myself by saying this, but it's been a long time since I've had it, which is why I think that the vaccine is always appropriate for everyone.
You know, every time I get the vaccine, I get the flu.
Oops.
So,
but I don't.
You don't.
So
I guess
maybe
it's
you should
different for
talk. Maybe
everyone.
you should talk to your doctor about that.
I'm going to say no more flu vaccines.
No more flu. Yes. Oh no! Don't say that. Talk to your doctor before you make a decision like that.
Yeah, everybody's different, right?
Yes.
So we have question number 3, and this is: do you believe you have a duty to inform viewers about climate change's impact on the weather?
This came from a post on social media, so I don't have the name of the person who wrote in. The simple answer is yes. I think we absolutely do. We have an obligation as meteorologists here at KXAN to tell you why summers are hotter, why we have so many triple-digit days, why, for example, in 2011, did we have 90 days, 90 of high temperatures that exceeded 100 degrees. We have an obligation to tell you why a landfalling hurricane in western Florida had a greater impact in western North Carolina, and we're talking about Hurricane Helene. I wrote a blog yesterday that's online right now that you're scrolling through about how children can be adversely affected by what's going on with our climate. One of the things that we've talked about a couple of times, especially in the weather chats that Kristen Curry and I do a few days a week, is how climate change can be affecting, for example, an early start to the spring allergy season, or an early start perhaps to the cedar season. And so children are suffering who suffer from allergies are suffering earlier than normal. This was particularly true in this past spring when we had an early start to oak. Oak is the second dreaded allergy, I think, in all of the allergens that we have here. The first, of course, being cedar. But I think we do. We have an obligation to, at the same time, to not politicize it. And I think we've done a good job of not doing that, or of not politicizing it. But I think it's important that people understand why the Earth being the hottest year this year, as it was last year, why that's so important and what it is doing, why it's happening, what needs to be done, how to mitigate it. And I think as long as we do not make this a political fight, as long as we say matter of fact about it, but just inform you of what's happening, then I think we are doing our job in letting you know that, yes, this is happening. Now, I have to tell you that some of our people have posted about it on social media. Most of the people who respond, and I'll use Jim Spencer, our former chief meteorologist, I have seen some people who have replied to him when he has talked about this. Jim is a firm believer that there is something going on with our climate. And I think that, some of the time, some of the responses that he gets, some saying, well, thank you, Jim, for doing this, and we appreciate you doing this. There are other people who say that this is absolute balderdash and there is nothing going on. And he will try to respond in kind. But we understand that there are some people who don't believe that there's something happening, and that's okay. Those of us who work here believe that something is happening, and we feel the sense of obligation to say, hey, this is what happened. This is why the top 10 hottest years on record have come since 2012. Why is that happening? So yes, I think that our weather department here at KXAN has that obligation to let you know that something is happening. Here's what it is. Here are the ramifications, and here's what needs to be done. Or here's what can be done.
And we've been hearing a lot about our warmer winter this year. That is a good example of climate change.
Yes, because we have had fewer freeze days. We haven't had too many here. And normally we don't get that many freeze days here. But if you go to other parts of the country, in maybe the Northeast, you're not seeing as many freeze days there. Look, I grew up in the northeastern part of the country, and I remember that just about every winter from the time that I remembered, well, from the time I was about 5 until we moved away from Atlantic City, that it snowed every year, that it got cold every year. And then as time went on, we saw fewer freeze days there. We saw fewer snow days there. So what's going on? Something had to be happening. And of course, lately now we have so many different agencies that report on climate change, and one of them is Climate Central. And we'll be talking with someone on Tuesday about how the seasons are warming faster. And it was a surprise to find out which of the four was first, second, third, and fourth. And so we'll be talking to Shel Winkley on Tuesday during our CW Austin morning Q&A session.
I can't wait to hear that conversation. And our question number 4 is just a request in general to have fun when it snows in Austin. Don't address it as a crisis. It's truly not the end of the world. Just enjoy, relax, and have fun, given it rarely happens in our city.
I had to smile when I saw this. This came to report it and was forwarded to us. And I thought, man, the gentleman, his name is Umberto, had a good point to make. Here's the thing. We have a difficult time here in the South to forecast accurately what type of precipitation is going to fall. It went back and forth. Is it going to be snow? Is it going to be a combination? Is it going to be freezing rain? Is it going to be freezing drizzle? Is it going to be sleet? We're going to get grapple. We went back and forth on this because the models kept changing. We did not want to go overboard and saying, oh, yes, this is going to happen. We had to wait until things got a little bit closer. We knew that Monday night, Tuesday was going to be the best opportunity for us to get winter precipitation. There are a few goals. One of them is, and I hate to say this, but as someone who occasionally fills in on traffic, we know that some people don't even drive properly when the roads are dry or just wet from rain. And then you add in this mix of, the potential of icing situation. When you want to make sure that people understand the necessity to possibly stay off the road if at all possible. So we're dealing with that. But Mr. Umberto, you are right. Once we knew that the precipitation was going to fall as snow, and that we were not going to get a whole lot of it, maybe you're right that if we do a better job of not making it seem like such a bad thing that's going to happen, because actually snow is really nice. And that's one of the things I miss about living in the northeastern part of the country.
Yeah, I had fun during that snow.
Yeah.
I don't know who didn't have fun during that snow.
Well, it was really nice. And, the children had an opportunity to get out and play in something that they very rarely get into. But, Umberto, you're correct about this. We should not look at it at the end of the world. Now, there was a second part to his email, and we're going to get to that at another time. But this one, I just felt like it was necessary to say, Umberto, thank you for that. Thank you for pointing that out to us. And we'll tell you about the serious part of it, and then smile when we talk about the non-serious part. Like, can you go build a snowman or have a snowball fight?
And that's what everybody did. We got so many snowball photos from our viewers. So many snowman photos. They were so creative, too.
Yeah, I wish that we had a little bit more, especially over where I live in 78741, but it was just a light coating on the car and on the grass, and not enough to do anything more than just say, oh, look how pretty it is.
Yeah. And you mentioned how difficult it was to forecast this. I remember during that week, Kristen and I sat down and she explained why it's so difficult. And we have a blog post on that, and that was a great topic to cover, especially that week.
She did really well. I was happy to see that she did that. And so it is difficult. Number one, you have to know, is the temperature going to drop cold enough for snow to actually happen? And that's when the temperature is below 32 degrees at all levels of the atmosphere. So what about that mid layer? Is it going to be too warm to support snow? But once we figured out that all levels would be conducive to just snow, then, it was easier to report to the public that, yes, tonight is going to be the night that we'll start seeing some snow. Excuse me. Unfortunately, where I live, we didn't start seeing the snow until, about 4 a.m. And I was sound asleep, but I woke up and there was some snow on the ground.
Wonderland.
Yes, my brief winter wonderland, yes.
And this next question, I've been waiting for you to answer because I am waiting for this answer. And that is there weather showing a chance of meatballs?
You always want to end on a happy note, okay? This question comes up occasionally when we are looking at the possibility of winter type precipitation. Some very nice people will write in, and they're all well intended, and we like to get those too, because sometimes people can be a little bit rough, but occasionally we get the kind emails that they want to make us laugh and appreciate life. And so this one did come in. Is there weather showing a chance of meatballs? Much as I like Italian food and would love to see the meatballs fall from the sky, this is only going to live in Rod and Judy's Barrett book. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs is reported by Flint Lockwood and weather girl Sam Sparks. And that's the best that I can do on that.
And in weather terms, what would you call meatballs in the forecast? Hail?
I would call it meatballs.
Meatballs? Well, that's a fun little question that we got in today.
Yeah, we appreciated that. Thank you. This also came from a social media, so I don't know the name of the person who actually sent it in. But thank you for that.
Yes,
if you're watching us, we thank you for that.
Now, before we wrap, I want to take another look at that weather cam and see what we're looking at. Rich, what can we expect for the rest of today?
All right, it's just going to be light rain this morning, tapering by this afternoon, and very low rain chances tonight, tomorrow night, Tuesday, and Tuesday night, 10% to 20%. But come Wednesday, as upper level energy gets closer to the area, the rain chances will go up appreciably Wednesday night into Thursday. And right now, the Storm Prediction Center is indicating a possibility of strong storms on Wednesday night into Thursday and Thursday night. So we'll be watching that. And we'll be also watching for possible flooding. Right now, I think the Weather Prediction Center is a little bit too aggressive, but it's a cautionary possibility of a marginal risk for some flooding on Thursday. But we'll be reporting on that. I have another show coming up at 10 o'clock, and then Tommy House will be in at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
And with rain in the forecast this much, it's important to slow down on the roads, right?
Yes, indeed.
Before we wrap, I want to remind everyone that we do have that blog post posted on our website that Rich wrote up. It's titled How Climate Change Impacts Children's Mental Physical Health. And it is on our website for anyone who would like to give it a read or look at some of the graphics that have been put in there. Always good information, right?
We know that the children are affected by this, and so this was something that was important for me. This is, an opportunity. Kids ask questions, and they deserve answers, and, it's all in how you craft it, and hopefully, making them understand, why am I having to spend more time indoors? Why am I sneezing more now than I normally do, and things like that. Mm-hmm. So this is a good primer for adults who have the need to address this subject with their children.
Yes, great learning opportunity as well. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Rich.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We can't wait to see what questions we have next Sunday.
We'll get them. And thank you all for writing in.
Thank you so much for joining us here on KXAN Live. We will see you tomorrow with more live streams, and we hope for everyone to join us there. Thank you.